getting a little more skeptical about government's actual or institutions' actual ability to do much or to have a positive impact. And that's why, you know, we've really made an effort as a government to bring forward concrete measures of openness and transparency. And I'll be the first one to say we're trying to do something new, certainly something different from the last government in Canada that wasn't a big fan of openness and transparency. Well, we've made lots of mistakes, and we're trying to figure things out, and it's not always working the way we'd want to, but we do know that continuing to look towards building that trust is really important, because ultimately, citizens won't learn to trust their governments unless governments can show that they actually trust their citizens with information, data, commitments, and a level of openness that unfortunately is not just, you know, coming along too slowly, is actually backtracking in some places, including some of the countries that are joining us here today.
I think that's such an interesting point. I think the role of emotions, right? We're all emotional creatures, and we're always going to be driven by our emotions. But I think that there's something else going on here, where why is it that people are responding so much to their emotions? Why do they want to feel, I think, so connected when we're living in a world that's so hyper-connected? You know, this paradox of, you know, everyone has the ability to be connected to so many different people just by, you know, pulling out their phones through various apps, and to the point where it's kind of almost overwhelming sometimes. But at the same time, we have rises in suicide rates, especially for young and people and teenagers. We have a suicide crisis also with isolated older men who are, you know, sometimes will literally tell, you know, the researchers that they've not talked to someone in numerous days or several days. So how do you sort of see those two things go hand in hand, that in this paradox that we're hyper-connected, but a lot of people feel alone, a lot of people feel like no one's talking to them?
Well, I think one of the things that we've challenged ourselves with in government is, I remember people saying, "Oh, social media means that your politicians can stay connected through virtual ways, and you don't actually need to talk with people in person anymore. You can happen to do it all through social media and all through virtual town halls and those." What I've found is actually over the past years, it becomes more and more important to actually connect in physical spaces and actually go door to door and do politics the very old-fashioned way of having real conversations that recognize social media as an extra tool. When it comes to citizens and where they are and what they feel like, you know, human beings are social animals. We define ourselves by how much we have value to the tribe that we identify, whether it's a small group, whether it's a big group. And that quest for relevance, that quest for meaning that we have, can find certain proxies in the internet that actually don't have the meaningful connections and substance that we actually need. I mean, where you see people, you know, spiraling into dark spaces and you know, getting super negative and closed in, well, their ability to connect with like-minded people on far corners of the world that they wouldn't be able to meet if they were just limited to people in their community or in their city, instead of sort of dampening that feeling of exclusion or isolation, can instead augment that feeling of exclusion and amplify those kinds of things in a way that we have to be really, really thoughtful about. But ultimately, building resilient communities means connecting people together in all sorts of different ways. And one of the things we realized early on in politics and social media, as we were sort of figuring out how to use these things, because they're fairly recent tools, what happens in the online world has to have real-world impacts. And when you disconnect from real life and the virtual life as a citizen, it's easy to sort of lose that connection to your democracy, your community, your institutions.
Yeah. So, we're talking about how these companies need to be regulated. There needs to be more that needs to be done. And a lot of their argument, coming from Mark Zuckerberg is, people and users love these platforms. And they're willing to put up with the lack of privacy, with all of these different things. And so I decided, because it wouldn't be an interview with you if I didn't crowdsource a little bit and brought you some information from the people. So I decided to crowdsource on Instagram and Twitter, how much would you need to be paid to delete your account? So on Twitter, how much would you have to be paid to delete your Twitter account and Instagram? Can I read you some of the answers? Because they're pretty interesting. Timothy Goodman, $750,000. Someone said, way too much to admit. Another person said 5 million because no one can pay for my silence. On Twitter, I had some interesting responses too. Akila said hard milli, which means 1 million, I think. Any cooler people in the room?
Hard milli?
Who can,
hard milli?
Okay, great. You're cooler than me, of course. So, cover the cost of my student loans. Then I asked my dad, who is a power Facebook user. Like when I call him, he just narrates his Facebook feed to me. It's he's very good at it. And he said $500,000 Canadian. He put Canadian. So what is that? Oh, should we do it in the room? Should we just do it by like raising your hands? How much would I have to pay you to delete all of your social media?
Well, I use it for work.
Okay, so that's a good reason. That's a good one.
But that line by Zuckerberg that people can choose to use it and they like using it or they don't use it. I was thinking about it. One of the elements of the digital charter we put forward, talks about plain language, privacy, approval, agree, disagree with the terms of service. Even if it's in plain language, which is an important shift, you don't actually have a choice, right? It's like, oh, I can not use Facebook or not use Twitter or not download this app that I want to use if I click don't agree. But if I click agree, I'm giving up all my rights, and it's this binary choice. It's not actually a choice. And that idea of bringing back this idea of control over your own data, knowing what your own data is out there, knowing how it's going to be used, having a say in how it's going to be used, and being able to withdraw it if you can, are the kinds of things that are the real choices that I think platforms are going to have to wake up to. Because as big as there are, people are starting to realize that the value of what they are giving to these platforms and these corporations is far greater than the value that they're getting back in their lives. And that reflection is something that we need to encourage and reflect on.
Yeah. So we have 3 minutes left, and I have a lightning round session because this is all about transparency. So I thought I would do lightning rounds of questions so that we all learn a little bit more about you. Are you game?
I like the hard questions. I don't like the easy questions. Okay, we'll give it a try.
Okay, are you ready? Go. Drake or The Weeknd?
The Weeknd. I know, a shocker.
Controversial.
I've met The Weeknd, but yes.
It's okay, it's his personal choice.
I haven't yet met Drake.
Salade de choux, traditionnelle ou crémeuse?
Crémeuse.
Yes, I'm with you. Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling?
It's got to be Ryan Reynolds. I like Ryan Gosling, but Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor is just awesome.
Okay. Raptors or Raptors?
Raptors.
Your favorite podcast? Or the last favorite thing you listen to?
I tried listening to podcasts when I run, but I just don't go back to the
nature sounds.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last song you listened to on Spotify?
Last song I listened to, I think it was... Ruben in the Dark. Their latest album, I absolutely love. They're a little Calgary band that tours across the country. It has an amazing sound.
I love that. Okay, what book is on your nightstand right now?
Right now, the Tribulations of Trials of Leadership. It's by the woman who wrote the Lincoln biography team of Rivals. Her next book is about difficulties and moments of leadership and how the great presidents made it through. So not that it applies to me, but reflecting on challenges of leadership, I think it's leadership in difficult times or something. It's on my nightstand, but yes.
I mean, I'm sure we all have, what's it called, trials and tribulations on our nightstands. Okay, which character of Veep do you most identify with?
Veep? See, my staff loves Veep. I just find it completely unrealistic.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So Gary, he's my favorite. So I'll answer for you. That's okay. You can think about it. Next time you'll tell me.
No, definitely not Gary, but my Gary is back there with his big bag, and it's all good.
Okay, good. We all need a Gary. So what kind of person are you? 0 unread emails or 10,000 million unread emails?
Unread emails? No.
No.
No, I read my emails.
Okay. You read all of the emails?
I have very good filters.
Wow. All right. Do you actually read the terms of agreement on iTunes?
Nobody reads the terms of agreement on iTunes. But like I said, it's a false choice. I mean, okay, I just won't use iTunes then. Well, no, you don't get to do that.
Have you ever watched Netflix for so long that it asks you if you're still watching and you're confronted with the sad reflection of yourself in the screen and it makes you question all your life choices?
It does that?
That's ever, it does that, it does.
Sorry.
And,
I'm kind of busy, but you know,
okay,
I appreciate that.
That's admirable, that's amazing. Okay, the future of tech should be?
Positive.
And what world leaders need to do more of is?
Trust citizens and treat them like adults.
Merci beaucoup pour
Ça me
cette
fait
belle
plaisir.
rencontre, cette belle discussion. Je vous remercie.
Merci Liz, merci à vous tous d'être ici. Have a wonderful conference. What you are doing really, really matters. And the challenges we face as governments trying to open up, trying to engage, whether you're civil society, whether you're part of a government, is scary, it's difficult. But ultimately, empowering our citizens to trust us by trusting our citizens themselves, giving them the tools to see the difficult choices that governments need to make, and bringing them along in building stronger, more resilient societies is essential for the future of our world. And I'm really, really happy to see so many people here today for this conference. Merci beaucoup d'être ici à Ottawa.